So in this session, we're going to talk about HTML forms. HTML forms are preset elements that have like preset default styling, helping users understand if a field is selected and allowing users to enter information and then submit this information. And as you can see, these elements are close to each other. They are labeled with a label, and there are many different features that you can utilize to customize your forms. You can apply your own CSS code. We'll get to that soon in this lab. As always, we are creating a new folder, lab 13 forms, and I'm going to create a new HTML file inside there. I'm going to call it index.html. You can call it whatever you want. And I'm going to create a CSS file to style my forms later. Okay, so I'm going to bring HTML boilerplate, lab 13 forms, and I'm going to have a main. Inside this main, I will create a form element. Also, let me link the CSS, style CSS. So form elements are wrapped with a form tag. We create a form, and it usually either there are two methods of submitting this form, is like get or post. These are like computer science level information. These are backend information. We're not going to be dealing with this. We're going to be using because we are having a static website, we're going to be using an online service that takes the data from our form and sends it to your email. And it's free until you get like 500 emails, and then after that, it's up to you if you want to continue that. Trust me, you will probably not get 500 email by the next year at least. I hope you will be a famous designer and you will get thousands of emails through your website. So we're going to add a form. The action here right now is can be empty. That's okay. That means this form is not going to do anything. So it's not going to go anywhere when we submit this. So let's start looking at this. By the way, I'm in HTML section in W3, and underneath there's HTML forms. Everything is listed here, and at the end there's a nice video too for you to watch if you want to get more information. So let's just overall, let's start with this simple setup. We have a label, we have two input files. Let's start with the inputs. We start with the input, and the input is going to be a common tag. The type will define what this element is. So in these we have two different elements here. One is input type text, the other is input type submit. And form input elements are void elements. That means they only have a beginning, they don't have a closing tag. But form is not a void element, so we have a beginning and the end. Okay, I'm going to save this for a second, and I'm going to switch to my CSS. I'll just make the main to be a flex, display flex, so I can display my form in the center of the website. I'll do justify content center, and then align items center. I think so far so good, and I will just make sure that the form has a background just for you to see background color, to see like how much space it is covering. I'm gonna make it very light so we can have a differentiation. Right now, as you can see, there's nothing happening, and I'm gonna give a little bit of padding to the form, just 1 EM, just to have a little bit of space so we can see where our form is. Perfect. Now, if I, as you can see, with two different even though the input were the same, these elements are the same, the type is different. So one allows me to write something and the other allows me to click. And because this form doesn't go anywhere, it just refreshes this page. It's not connected to anything. Now let's learn how to create labels. We can add labels by using label tag, but every time we want to add a label, it will ask us which element is this for, and we need to add enter something here so that we can connect this label to this form. But currently we have label for name, but we don't know which one is name. So in this case, we would want to have this input type name to have an ID called name. And you can also, there is also another attribute. In this case, I'll just turn this into a full name, by the way. Full name, ID, full name, for full name. And there is another label called name. Currently, don't worry about this yet. This is going to be very important when we are dealing with like selection, multi-selection form elements. But it's a good practice to enter an ID and also name. You can keep them same. We have the full name. We can have like another input type. We can call this, let's add a label and call this subject. And then we can add an input type, text. And we're going to add an ID, subject, and a name, subject. Now let's take a look at the form. Okay, so everything is expanding and horizontally. It would actually wrap itself if it didn't have any room. But because there is room right now, it is making itself horizontally expand. I can actually prevent this by creating a display flex and add a column layout, and this would create a nice vertical setup. I'm gonna remove this gap just to keep these like this for now, or make it less instead of, yeah, let's keep it 10 pixels. Perfect. I also would like to increase my root font size. Font size 18 points, maybe 16. Okay. So now we have the labels, we have the button, we have the inputs. These inputs currently getting all the default styles from the browser. So when we click on this, it gets this blue outline, and it gets the height, the width automatically. Everything is done automatically. We have the choice of changing that. But a form input also comes with additional like HTML attributes that you can play with. Let me HTML input 3. I'll show you these are the types that we can add, and we also have other attributes like size, maximum length, minimum length. The size is going to determine how many characters you can enter in that form. You can determine the type. Like for instance, we can make this password. For instance, I can make this type password, and it's going to be hidden from the view, but the data will be still there. You can add an auto value. For instance, we can. I'll back up a little bit there. Let's say there is like a common topic that people usually use this form. Maybe it's like getting a price code. Price code. You can write this, and every time people open this, like, they can see this value automatically entered, and they could, if they want, they can change it. There are placeholder values. Let me see. Placeholder text. You can add that placeholder. So let's do that on this one. Placeholder. You can say, please enter your full name, or name and surname. So it will be. It's not a value. It's not. You can see the difference between this and this. This is a value. If you submit it, this is already there. It's gonna go with as a data, but this is just a placeholder. As soon as you start typing, it'll disappear. But this is basically a value that you're providing in the first place. This is just telling users, guiding users what to enter. So that's the difference between value and placeholder. There is one more thing that I think I'm missing. All right, so let's make sure that our form has a same font size as like the labels, because right now they are looking very small. So I'm gonna try the font size here for a second, and I'm just gonna do 1 rem. Probably it's not gonna be working, but I would like to show you a new selector that we never used, which is the attribute selector. Basically, this will select elements that have these attributes in the HTML. So like here we can have a type attribute and text. We can say font size 2 rem. This should make these just to select these and make it bigger. As you can see, the input did not change. Like even though these are the same elements, these didn't change, but these guys changed. This didn't change. But if I were to write input instead, then everything would change. Form item that is very useful is the text area. Oh, actually, let's do email too, because you want your user to add an email so that you can get back to them. The reason why we have this type different than text, when you have this, you can actually make the form validate whether or not the user is entering a correct email. As you can see, if I just say ASD, this will give an error. It'll say, please include an @ in the email address. But if I place my email, it will submit the form. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this value here. One more thing, we're gonna add another label. This is for the message. We're gonna say message, and for this we're gonna create a new type. It's gonna be called it is called text area. Text area, name message, ID message, and we can define columns and rows for this text area. This will determine the width and height of this by default of this input form, and then the rows is the height, basically. The placeholder, we talked about the placeholder and the text area. This is not a void element, just be careful. The difference between input text and a text area is that this is a multi-line input. So I would do input comma text area, and that would also have the same. So now I think my form can be a little bit bigger than 300 pixels. I'll make this 400, and then the main is going to be viewport height 100, of course. Okay, cool. So we also have like a few more things. We can have checkbox, we can have radio buttons, if we look at this template, which is the HTML forms tab on the sidebar, the difference between radio buttons and checkboxes are you can actually select only one option in the radio button, but when it's checkbox, you can have 0 or multiple options at the same time. That's the main difference between these two. Other than that, writing these are actually like almost the same way. You just need to check this as like a checkbox or radio. So let's do that. Before the message, I'm gonna ask them if they want me to, if they want a reply or something. I don't know. Or we can ask a question like, are you label for, yeah, let's ask them if they are in the US. Are you in the US? So sorry, what am I doing? This is the label. Are you in the US? We are gonna have like one label that is going to be, it's not actually a label, it's like just a question, but the labels for these are going to be after the input, and they're gonna just come right next to these checkboxes. So basically we're gonna create the radio button now, and we're not gonna connect this question to anything. So I'm gonna have an input type radio and then name yes. Sorry, just a second, ID yes. And then also we have to, because these are just boxes, you have to give put the value inside them. Like this could have been maybe not like a yes and no question. This could also be something that is more than like just a simple input. But whatever you choose here, you can actually, like, you have the control to how you form this data here. So currently I'm just gonna have yes, and then I will have a label for this. Let me just label for yes. Radio. Okay, yeah. So one thing is that we are making a mistake here. We need to have like a common ID, and the label has to be connected to the name. So here we have an ID for HTML, and then the name favorite language. We have the common name and different IDs. So we are gonna do the same thing here for yes, and this is gonna stay as just as a label, not even a label. I'm just gonna do this like a span for now, and this is not, there's no ID. Now we fixed it. So we're gonna have no label, no, and we can make one of them already like checked. Let me show you. If we place these, they're gonna be, we can make one of them as like checked. So if you want this automatically checked, there's an option called checked, and by default it's gonna be checked. Okay, the reason why these are not showing up on the same row is because they are repositioned by the flex. If you didn't have flex, this would actually tuck itself here. We can actually fix that really easily by just wrapping them inside a div for now, like as a container. And I'm gonna change this soon, immediately after we are done. So I just wrapped this in a container. Now we have yes and no is wrapped very nicely. One more thing, let's do the checkbox too. After the message, we can say like, I consent to receive messages from you. something like that. Let's add input checkbox, and this is gonna be the like a consent, and label for consent. I consent to having this website store my submitted information, something like that. I consent to receive messages from you, communications from you. That's much better. And we can make this also checked too. So we can make this checked, but I think it's a bad practice. I'm gonna wrap these, by the way, with div, so they are not impacted by the flex. The best scenario would be here is is letting the user check this. Otherwise, it would be, I think, tricky. You would be like tricking the users without, maybe they will skip this. Oh, also make sure that you add the value. Yes, and you can also have like a required. There is also a required attribute. This show you required. This specifies that the input field must be filled out before submitting the form. If you don't check this form is not gonna be submitted. It is gonna. Let me see. Did we save this? Okay. It is gonna be given error. So you probably want the email to be required as well. You would want the name to be required. Subject, maybe. Subject could be optional, but you probably want the message to be required as well. There are two ways to add buttons. One is input type submit. The other is basically writing button. You can have like type submit, and you can have also another button. You can call this type reset. The reason why we have two different button ways to create buttons is that this actually, because it's non-void element, you can actually put here anything you want. You can put text, submit, reset. You can also place images here too if you want to. You can let me see if we have any images. American football diagram. Okay, yeah, this is good. This is a nice send message. So copy path. I'm gonna just insert this dot. So now this becomes a button, as you can see. That's the main difference between button and input type submit. But I'm gonna just get rid of this and I'm gonna say submit. I'll get rid of this one as well. Lastly, make sure that button also has the same type size. One more thing that is, I think, important is this select box, drop down select box. Let's just do that as well, and then we'll be done with this, and then I'll show you how to connect this with an actual form. Let me see, do we have any example here? No attributes. By the way, you can check out these. You can like their color input types. You can have color. It'll submit in a hex code. You can have a date as the. You can make users select date instead of writing that down. Email, image, upload image. So this is the image button. We talked about that. Choose file, upload a file. This is handled after you submit it. This is handled by a backend script. But for now, we will never worry about that. You can have number. You can make sure that the number that you want is between like certain range. You can literally have a range selector, and you can determine the values. Search, phone. You can determine the pattern, what type of pattern you want. Time. I would like to show you guys the select one as well. So like let's think about a scenario like what people would would want, maybe we can make them select their like 3 things from by using a drop down menu. This is good because like the reason you can also like have radio buttons, you can have checkboxes, but remember, like US has 50 states. If you are asking someone's state and you want to give them like an option to choose from, when it comes to when the list grows, the select can be actually much more useful than just like writing things down. So let's look at the structure here. It starts with a select, opening and closing tags, and then you define the options inside this select tag. And the label basically is connected to this select element. The values here goes directly to the database. So you can write like Mustafa here, you can write whatever you want here. This will be ignored. This is just for the view, but the value is what goes through like behind the scenes and recorded as the data. So I'm just gonna copy this on here, and before the message I'm gonna paste it. Shift Option F will make my code pretty. Okay, I'm gonna call this occupation, and I'll call this student, business owner, designer, and something else, designers. Lastly, we just need to make sure that this is included in the CSS. And here you go. We have business owner, designer, and we can make one to be like actively selected. Like for now, none of them says that it's selected, indicates. So the first one is just there. We can make this to be selected, I think, yeah. And or I'll just do like an unusual one. So it's gonna be automatically designer will be listed. Close these really quick. Let me see, do we have, oh, this is nice. You have the size value. You can make this instead of like a, you can make this between like instead of a drop down, you can make this to be like selected. In some cases you might need to give the option to make things, activate multi-selection. So it's probably you will never deal with these options. It's just like what we need in this assignment is going to be name, email, and the message. But these are also cool options. Okay, there are multiple services out there. It is not free to connect, like make your form function. It can be free if you host your website on a private hosting. You can use your server to send emails. But because we are using GitHub Pages, we are going to use this one. So what you need here is you need to go to this website and you're going to just create an account. And this, after creating an account, you're going to get a form ID. As we mentioned, form tag accepts few different attributes. So you're going to copy this and then paste it in the form. I will make this. So the action will be taking this to go to this address and then connecting this form to your account. And that is going to happen with that form ID. So let me get started. I will use email. Okay. It gave me this ID. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And it also asks me to have the email message and the name as the names so that it should recognize those. I'm not sure about the other parts. Maybe it won't. Okay, we have email, name, and message. Just make sure that you have a consistent naming here. Otherwise, it might stop working. And you can just copy this form and paste it in your website. It is basically what we need, anyways. So after I did that, it should work. Let me see. Full name, test. All right, let's see a little bit. I didn't save it. Perfect. Yeah, we have a field called full name. This should be name. I think this would work now. Okay, now I'm going to check my email or go to this account to see if I have any messages. Someone submitted something, and that's me. The message is hello. Yeah, I got it. So after you use this credit, you can buy more, but until you use this credit, it is free, and you don't have to put any credit card or anything. This is the good thing about this website. It's called forum-2-email. And once you get here, the rest is easy. Just do get started. It's the easiest setup I've ever seen and used. Okay, so that's all for today. You can basically, by using attribute selectors, you can do whatever styles you want in your forms. And if you have maybe unique ideas, like for instance, just changing the entire background color, you can try those, and that could probably lead you to even learn more about forms. And let me know if you have any issues and questions.